So good morning, everybody. A warm welcome to our today workshop here from Hermsdorf. Unfortunately, the COVID situation still does not allow the face-to-face live event to launch our new DC Arrester line. So therefore, we choose the webinar format once again. We already sent you the complete product documentation, including all the type test reports and so on. And today, Felix, our product manager, will present you the features and benefits of our new DC Arrester in detail. The today webinar is exclusive for Agent, so feel free to discuss frankly open points or missing documents. We want to make sure that we do everything to guarantee the success of this new arresters. The webinars for customer will follow. I believe by end of March, we will have the first ones for the customer. We will do it also in German and in English language, and maybe we can organize also something in Spanish, but we will see. So enjoy the show for today. And before we really start, Caroline still have some general comments. So far from my side.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining our today's webinar for DC arresters. I just want to make some short comments. If there should be some questions you have to ask to Felix, then you can see in the bottom line or in the line above a small hint where is stated Q&A. Then you can just click on the Q&A. Write your questions, send it to us, and then after the webinar presentation done by Felix, we will try to answer all your questions. And if there should be some questions we can't answer now, don't be afraid, we will take them with us and give the correct answers to you as soon as possible. All the questions and answers will be recorded, so you can have a slide portfolio of these questions and answers afterwards, together with the video presentation and the PowerPoint presentation or PDF presentation for your use. Thank you for your attendance, and I hope you will enjoy our webinar. So I will give my words now to Felix. Thank you.
So, good morning from my side. I hope everybody can see my screen. I want you to welcome in this webinar about our DC or in general our railway application portfolio. The first slides will probably be something you already know and have seen many times before, but to be fully understandable and because you will get this presentation for your use, Mydentia, Tridelta Mydentia is a global presence. We have in over 120 countries successful installed search arresters and are using them there. We have exclusive sales agents and representatives in more than 50 countries in the world. So we are well connected all over the world. As we are in our production or in our manufacturing facility, a really old and traditional company, I focused in this presentation on the development of search arresters alone, but if your customers ask you, our company exists even longer. We started in 1884, and in 1961 was the production of the first search arresters. In 1984, then we developed or produced the first DC search arresters, but in that time still with a spark gap. And the first metal oxide search arrestor was produced in 1981, and the first silicon housed search arrestor as well. In 1997, we developed the first DC search arresters with a ZNO block. And from there on, of course, the development of in silicon house search arresters for DC applications was already planned, and in 2009 it was introduced. In 2015 we were acquired by were acquired by my group from Japan, and that brings us the benefit that the company that invented the ZNO block is directly involved in our business, so that we get really good Varistor blocks from them that we can use for our products. And now we have 2022, and our plans are to really expand into the railway sector, and with that we updated our existing portfolio. In general, it is to say that the railway applications are split between AC and DC system voltages, and additionally also split for rolling stock applications, so used on a tram or in other vehicles, and also the electrical power supply of the rail systems, like in the station or in the substations around the electrification of railway applications. In general, for the AC systems, the frequencies ranges from 16 to 3rd Hertz to 60 Hertz, and the normal or standard for the surge arresters is still the same as for normal AC applications. For the rolling stop application variant, there come additional tests in place. First one is the EN 45545-2, which is the fire safety test, which is really important because this test or the standard describes how the smoke density, the material burning time, and so on are determined for the product. And additionally, also, as you can imagine, if a vehicle moves over rails, then there's also shocks and vibrations, and the surge arrestor must successfully pass at an according test so that those can be sufficient handled. For the DC systems, the general standard for surge arresters you will see in specifications is mostly the EN 5526-1. Additionally, for the rolling stock, this changes into the IEC 62848-1. But don't be confused. This IEC 62848-1 covers fully the EN 5526-1, so we are compliant in that. The only thing it edits is that something like the shock and vibration test and also the rolling stock in general is addressed in this standard. In the EN 5526, it's only about DC voltage surge arresters, but not specific for rolling stock. So the one is more or less included in the other and fulfills both requirements. Additionally, we also have, again, the fire safety test and the shock and vibration test. To give you a short overview about voltage ranges and general continuous operating voltage that you will see in those systems, there's a small table you can see here for different use in railway applications. It is important to note that dependent on the area or the energies that have to be handled or some other shock impulses, it can vary from this table. So this is just something to look at, but in some specifications, I can tell you that for 750 volt, for example, there are also sometimes requirements for 1.5 kV or even 2 kV, and also for the 1.5 kV voltage systems up to 3 or 4 kV. But those are seldom and are not always given, but it can happen, so please be aware of that. Now to our portfolio, what we have. Our railway portfolio exists or includes 4 different types of surge arresters right now. We have 3 different types for DC surge arresters and 1 type for the AC surge arresters. The DC surge arresters are divided into 3 classes in general: DC-A, DC-B, and DC-C. The DC-A is for low voltage, which we are not directly addressing, but we are covering with our class DCB. And the DCC class is more or less a really high energy rated class that has really high requirements in general. And when you compare to our former products, which you already know of, those would also be in the range of the DCB. We have in the polymeric housing both classes, and for the porcelain house only one class in the DCB. It's only because the requirements to handle in the porcelain house surge arresters, there is not really a requirement on the market, because also the transition there is to go more with polymeric housed surge arresters in general. For the AC voltage systems, we use normally our SBKC design. There are some thoughts about updating it with our filament winding cage technology in the future, but as of right now, this is a product we have already in place and already have some experiences with, which were, as of right now, really good. The SBKW-B, this is our classification for the new polymeric surge arresters, are really lightweight surge arresters with high mechanical strength. The silicon is an HTV silicon from Wacker, and the inside structure is a filament winding cage, which is then directly molded on with the HTV silicon. Please, even though it's a filament winding, please make sure that you promote it as a cage, because that's what it really is. It's just the kind of how the cage is built that is important here. And they are all externally type tested at independent laboratories according to the relevant standards. We fulfill the flammability class HL3 with them, which is the highest possible class, so we can use that for every application that is thinkable of. As I already mentioned, those surge arresters are available as a class DCB and at a class DCC, and we use in both of them varistors from the Meiden Corporation. For the DCB class, as to give you a bit more information, we use a 74 millimeter varistor block, and for the DCC class, we use a 120 millimeter varistor block. So there is a big size difference, let's say, from the varistor blocks itself. Our former porcelain house design got also overhauled, and we also changed the type designation. It's now called SB-B. This is a design that is proven with over 25 years of field experience, with a really good track record. We got feedback from customers that were just not sure if the surge arrestor is still working properly, because it was in field for over 20 years. They sent it to us, the electrical values, even though of course it was a bit dirty on the outside, but the electrical values were still really good. So this is a really, really consistent and well-established design. They are only type tested according to the IEC 62848-1 and the IEC 61373, so only for the shock and vibration and the DC voltage railway application standard, because there is no fire safety test necessary, because the porcelain housing doesn't burn. So there is no flammability test necessary. This product is only available in the class DCB, and this one has no limitation to vehicle speed, because there is no shed flattering that can happen. And also in this search arrestor, we use Varista blocks from the Meiden Corporation. It's the same 74mm block we also use for the DCB class in the polymeric house search arrestor. Going through the AC search arresters for the SBKC, this is also a really proven design with over 15 years of field experience. It is type tested according to the relevant standards in external laboratories. It fulfills the flammability class HL2, which is, as I already mentioned, only the second highest class, but for the application on the roof where they are normally used, this is totally fine. This is the requirement that is in the market. It's available as the class SM and SH, and we did participate in some wind tunnel studies, and this search arrestor design got approved for vehicle speeds up to 180 kilometers per hour. What is now important to know while selecting the search arrestor? What are the questions that we need to ask, or that we as TriDelta need from you to select the correct one? First of all, we need some information about environmental conditions like temperature, like wind, etc. Why is temperature really important? Especially in rolling stock application, search arresters sometimes get placed on inside a box. And if the train is standing for some hours without traveling, those boxes can really heat up to 75 degrees, for example, and start from there the working environmental. And this is some information that is really important to know, not because the search arrestor will not work, but just to get an evaluation how the energy withstand capability will work in such an extreme condition. The wind speed, of course, is already also important to know, because combined with the vehicle speed, for example, this needs to be considered if this is still sufficient or if there will be a problem because of the sheds. In general, of course, it is to know if it's AC or DC voltage, because this is the main distinguishing between our product lines. What are the requirements for the continuous operating voltage? And here I want to give you some small information. Formerly, most specifications or requirements have separated the continuous operating voltage and the rated voltage UR. In the new standard, be it the EN 50526-1 or the IEC 62848-1, this differentiation is not anymore. It's just UC equal UR, which of course sounds a bit strange, but the UC is the really most important point. So the information that is really necessary is the continuous operating voltage. Then of course, is it for power supply or rolling stock? Just because of some requirements for the height or the weight, because you can imagine on top of a tram, for example, you don't want to install a 4-meter high AC voltage surge arrestor, and each millimeter reduces the resistance while traveling and saves energy, and the manufacturer are really keen to get really lightweight and as short as possible surge arresters. If we have rolling stock, of course, what is the speed of the vehicle in operation? So again, with the sheds, what I already explained. And additionally, if the surge arrestor is inside a box, and we know that, then of course the vehicle speed doesn't matter, because then the box sees the wind and not the search arrestor itself. And of course, then there's additionally the last but really important point: how is line and earth connection planned? Because the space is really limited, especially in rolling stock applications, they get really creative in how they want to install it. We have some basic installation variants that we offer as a standard, but please make sure that this will not be a knockout criteria, because we are really eager to adapt to the situation as we have on the train or on the roof, because this is our really strong selling point against our competition, because they offer their standard products and that's all. And we want to go further. We want to work together with our customers to create the perfect connection for their situation. As our references right now, we have since 2013 over 12,000 pieces sold. And our main customers are Bombardier Transportation, which are now part of Alstom Transportation, Skoda Transportation, Secheron, Leckhoff, Meiden Singapore, and also Alstom. There are of course many more, but those are our main customers, and we hope to increase those numbers in the next 10 years, so that I would like to have it triple. Thanks for your participation, and now we will go on to the F&A questions. If you want to see our current leaflets, even though we send it already to you, we have it also linked on our website, and the links are also included in this presentation. Okay, let's go to the questions. There's a question from Greg. Is the DCC arrestor the equivalent of a class 4 arrestor in the previous SBB models? The DCC arrestor is not equal to the class 4. It would be more equal to the class 5. The class 4 is the DCB class. I know the nominal discharge voltage on our leaflet says 10 kA and not 20 kA as it was used to in the former class 4, but that's only because of the arrestor standard, because they specify for the DCB 10 kA nominal discharge current. But the arrestor block we use and our search arrestor in general is also capable of 20 kA, because this is a varistor specifically for 20 kA. So there's no really problem. We just put it in our leaflets as the basic, because that's what in the standard is given. We will of course provide you with a statement that it works for 20 kA nominal discharge current as well.
There was also a question sent by Alejandro, which I already answered in text. He just wanted to know if it would be possible to get a picture of the SBKWB with the internally built filament cage. And I just want you to know that there is no problem. I guess we can send a picture to you afterwards together with presentation, video link, and all the other useful materials. So would there be any other questions? Please just write them in the Q&A. I guess we will wait for several minutes. Otherwise, Felix will end the webinar then afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, another question from Greg. From a sales point of view, would you prefer to focus on the polymer or the porcelain units? In general, the polymeric unit will most probably be the go-to for the future, but I know, for example, in some areas of the world, there are still porcelain housed units more requested, and that's totally fine. So if you have really rigid or with high corrosion areas, then the porcelain house has a bit more safety, because it's already proven that porcelain housing works there. In such cases, there are customers that are still a bit hesitant to switch to polymeric because they fear that the lifetime expectancy will not be reached with polymeric housings. But from a promotion standpoint, I would say the polymeric will take over in the long run, but this is something the experts say since 20 years. So, and we are still selling porcelain house units. So this is just an estimation what they see. Yeah, but I think the focus should be dependent on the market. But if you have no requirements, then go for the polymeric house, Teresa. A question from David Pineda. Are we ready to start homologation and certification on each country, companies, etc.? Can I start arranging ADIF people to go there or launch the certification process? Yes, you can definitely start the homologation and certification projects. We are complete with our documentation, and yeah, we want really to go and push into our market. So you can really go and start those processes. Of course, we will support you and help you as much as we can, especially if there is, like the ADIF, some customer, or RFI, for example, for Italy. We will also gladly join you in the discussion with the people directly. Question from Alejandro Levi. Are the SPKCs you mentioned for this application exactly the same as the usual ones? Are the registers the same? Will there be a catalog for SPKC specific for this application? Those are exactly the same SPKCs you see, and we know exactly from our AC normal business. The registers are the same, and the only thing that is really different is that we did the extra tests for the shock and vibration and the fire safety test to fulfill those points, but the product is still the same. We will have in our overall brochure, which Caroline already provided to you, there's a section for the SPKC as well, but the electrical values are still the same. There is no change within it, and the only thing that is necessary to know is that we, of course, don't, in normal cases, we don't need SPKCs with a higher rated voltage than 45 kV. Okay, if there are no open points right now, then I thank you for your participation and I wish you a nice rest of the week. If there are some questions that rise up afterwards, no problem. Please send a mail to us and also to the sales engineer that is responsible for your market. And we will add them within the next days into our Q&A sheet and also, of course, answer them as soon as possible as we can. So thank you for your participation. Again, thank you for your participation and have a nice day. Bye.